So, here we are, behind the Spory building, looking at Velázquez and his painting, The Waterseller of Seville. Now, Velázquez was from the city of Seville in the south of Spain. He worked as a painter for King Philip IV for most of his life. And in this painting, we can see that Velázquez is looking at the dynamic between the lower classes of the more poor citizens in the city and the juxtaposition between the poor and the more powerful.
Yes, and this painting is labeled as a bodegon, which comes from the Spanish word bodega, meaning tavern. And this is the Spanish version of a genre painting. And we can also see the influence of Caravaggio with that extremely dark and black plain background and the use of tenebrism with the extreme lights and darks in this painting.
What I also like about this painting is the water seller himself, how grand and dignified he seems. He has a very tan, weathered face, but he seems very warm and inviting, as opposed to the younger young man who is pale and is not really making eye contact with the water seller at all, even though he's buying water from him.
Yeah, that could be depicting that the boy is from a higher class and doesn't see this water seller as his equal.
Yes, and I also would like to point out that the details and the earthy tones of this painting really set the water seller and his water jugs apart from the rest of the painting.
Yes. Yeah, the boy is mainly in black and white, which is a big difference from the warm look, and in the face of the old man you can see the withered lines. Maybe he's out in the sun all day.
Yes, and his hand is very put into perspective, reaching out towards us with his hand on the water jug, and it seems to be inviting us to come and partake of what he is selling.
Yes. I also really like the pyramid composition in this painting. We see a contrast from Caravaggio, who used the arcs and diagonal lines in his paintings, but Velázquez seems to be going back to the Renaissance compositions and keeping a stable and sturdy look to the figures.
Yeah, Caravaggio really liked to have a lot of action and a lot of movement in his paintings, and Velázquez seems to have taken bits and pieces from Caravaggio's work, like the use of tenebrism, and the foreshortening of some of the figure in the painting and the composition, but he uses the stable and more simple compositions of classical Renaissance paintings to depict someone who is, not very idealized, not very classical, but, just an ordinary man,
Yes.
Going about his work, doing his thing, and it gives a sort of grandeur to the whole painting.
Yes, I love the naturalism in this painting. Like, look at those two jugs. The indents on them are so realistic and done so well. What do you think about that?
Even the water dripping down the side of the jug in the front, it's very detailed and particular. And we could tell that he spent a lot of time, working on this, making it just so.
Yes, you can tell how skilled he is as a painter due to the naturalism.
Yes, and the modeling of the fabric and the different textures. And then there's this guy in the background who seems almost like he's part of an unfinished, first draft of the painting. Almost as if, it was Caravaggio's first attempt to draw the guy in the background, but then he changed his mind and drew the young boy.
Yeah, the old man, or the man in the background, is just kind of emerging out of the darkness, peering over the shoulders and between the faces of those two, and he is the only figure in the drawing that is staring out at the viewer, which is something Velázquez liked to put in his paintings, someone to look at the viewer and engage them in that way.
Yes, I think the man was originally more visible and,
Faded with time?
yeah, faded with time, which is unfortunate, but also kind of funny, because he looks very creepy.
A little creepy.
Well, thank you for joining us, and this is Kirsten and Sydney signing out behind the sport.